Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and we are back with another game of Warhammer Quest. It has been a while, I've been trying some new things, but I can't stay away from this game for long, so here we are again with the Louts of Chaos, my Warhammer Quest adventuring party. Sure, they're from the north, sure they worship chaos, but really they're just a bunch of amiable meatheads trying to make their way in the world. We've had quite a few games with these guys so far, but it has been a while, so just really quickly I'm going to go over them. First is our leader, Lief the Legbiter, the Barbarian. He is battle level 3 with 26 wounds. He has a ton of magic items and equipment. I'm not going to go into all of it. Most importantly though, he has armor to bring him up to toughness 8. Not only that, but he visited a witch's cave last game, so for this one game he is actually up to toughness 9. So he is real resilient. He also has a number of healing items, Stone Icon of Gamaluk and the Ring of Life being most noteworthy. He has a ton of magic weapons, but his favorite is a club that is +1 to hit and +1 damage per level, so it's doing +3 damage on each hit. He also has a number of rerolls. He has a luck point and a couple of lucky charms, and as the leader, he has the lantern. Next up is my wizard, Hundert Luftballoon. He is battle level 2 with 15 wounds. He is, however, toughness 5 because he has found Bograt's crown and a protection ring. He also has a wizard staff that is a defensive weapon. It can also be used to reroll the power score once per game, and it holds a little power in case of emergencies. His own power store is up to 11. As far as spells go, he has Confuse and Lightning Bolt. His best attack spell is Freeze. He also has 2 great cure spells. He has Heal Wounds and Cure Small Wounds. He has a couple of lucky charms himself, and a collection of generally defensive magic items. Invisibility ring, bracelet of transformation, stuff like that. Next we have the primary murderer of the group, that is Naughtiness Maximus, my pit fighter. He is battle level 3, he has his flail and fist spike. His fist spike is enchanted, so on the roll of a 6 it causes an extra d6 wounds. He has a bunch of heal it potions. He also has pit armor on his body and legs, so he gets an extra point of toughness when he gets hit with a hit roll of 5 or 6. He has 26 wounds, a couple of lucky charms. My group is always after the lucky charms. He has some very noteworthy magic items in the Chalice of Vigor and Time Freeze ring, but what makes this guy really dangerous is that he has 2 knee spikes, so that's an extra 2 attacks at -1 strength, but as part of his pit fighter progression, he has increased the damage die, so he is rolling 2d6 damage on every hit, so he has 5 attacks doing 2d6 damage plus whatever strength modifier. Finally, we have the newest member of the group, Ivor Shando, my Chaos Dwarf, using the regular Dwarf rules. He came in after my Chaos Warrior, Cirrhosis of the Liver, got too many mutations and wandered off into the Chaos Wastes. Because of the various pieces of armor that he is wearing, he is up to toughness 8 with 18 wounds, so he's pretty tanky himself. As far as magic items go, most notably he has Ogre Slayer, which is a magic sword that, because he's a dwarf, gives him +3 strength. He also has the Boots of Battle, which gives him an extra attack at -1 to hit and +1 strength. So at battle level 2, he is coming along. So because half of our group is at battle level 3, we are doing a level 3 game. And because I still don't have enough monsters painted up to use the monster charts from the role-playing book for battle level 3, we are using the Lair of the Orc Lord. Now, Lair of the Orc Lord gives monsters for battle level 2 to 3, and since half my guys are level 2, half my guys are level 3, it should be fine. I still think it's going to be relatively easy because I've been using this chart for a long time and we've been doing pretty well. Still, my current plan is to go through all of the missions, all of the adventures in Lair of the Orc Lord, and after that, I will hopefully have enough models painted up to go do the other missions using the standard role-playing book monsters. But for this game, we have rolled up mission number 1, Stop the Waaagh. So some seer up north has had a vision that an up-and-coming warlord is going to launch a devastating Waaagh in the nearby area. Even in Norska, that's never a good thing, so they have put a bounty on Orc Warlord heads. My group knows where we can find one, or at least we think we do. So it's a pretty straightforward mission. We're going to go through a dungeon as normal. We're going to get to the Gorgut's lair objective room. We're going to kill Gorgut, hopefully. The difference in this mission is that then a doorway opens up in the back of the objective room. We go through 4 more random rooms and then we escape. We return to the seer, we hand over the head, and maybe it's the right one, maybe it's not. But the hope is that it is the right one and we get paid. So as always with Lair of the Orc Lord adventures, we take 10 random dungeon rooms, we add in the collapsed passageway and the shaman's den, We then take the objective room, deal out 6 random ones from the dungeon card deck, shuffle those up, those go at the bottom, 6 more go on top, that makes our dungeon. Draw the first card and it's a corridor, we place our guys at the far end and we're ready to begin. We are in our Louts of Chaos special L formation so that no one gets trapped if we get ambushed. We roll the power score for the first turn. We roll a 2, add 1 because of our wizard being battle level 2, so that's a 3. No one jumps out to try and stab us, so we go straight on to the exploration phase because we've got the Barbarian right there with the lantern in the doorway. We shine that into the next corridor, flip over the next card, and we get a T section. Those who've been watching these Warhammer Quest battles know that these T-sections have burned me before. It often turns out that I go down the wrong path, have to double back through the whole dungeon to find the objective room. Getting a T-section really early like this can really take up a lot of time, but you know what? I'm feeling confident. I think I'm due for a nice short dungeon. I've had some really long ones the last couple games. We roll for the power score the next round. We get a total of 5, so we just move into the T-section like that. I'm going to move up to the left, and the reason for that is fairly simple. So, we've got 7 cards on the bottom of the dungeon deck that could be the objective room. When we deal out the 2 splits in the path, you deal from the bottom of the deck and go 1 to 1 on each side. So one path is going to end up with 4 possible cards, the other one is going to end up with 3. I'm going to go down the one with more of the cards that could be the objective room. That's the longer section, but it's the one with the better odds of being the right way. We roll for the power for the next round, and we roll a 1, so that means there's going to be an event. Draw a card, it's a monster, which means that we roll on the Lair of the Orc Lord chart, and we get 6 boar boys. I've fought these before. They're not terribly tough in offense, but they do have a lot of hit points. The Pitfire gets a reaction table, but he doesn't get any reaction, so we go straight on with the turn. Lief does not go berserk. He's going to use his favorite club to bonk the boar boy right in front of him. He's got to strike the boar first, then the boar dies and is left with just the rider. Anyway, he only hits once and he does 5 points of damage. These boars have 10 health. Lief is trying to strike the one that is currently targeting Hundert Luftballoon because we don't want our wizard to die. Hundert goes and uses his staff to strike this boar boy as well. Unfortunately, he misses, which is not surprising. He's using the staff, which is -1 to hit, though it does give him an extra 1 toughness. Next we're on to Naughtiness Maximus. We are going to try and stab the one that is attacking Lief the Legbiter. Actually not a great idea on my part. I'd be much better off trying to stab one that is targeting Naughtiness because these guys can't actually hurt Lief. They are only strength 3 and Lief has a toughness of 9 right now, so even if they roll a 6 to wound, they're not going to beat my armor. Anyway, we're going to start with that fist spike. He's going to miss with the first shot, then the next one gets a crit, so he rolls an extra d6 damage. That's 3d6 plus 4 to that boar. Does a total of 12 points of damage, so that boar is dead. He goes on to try and punch the rider to death, but only does 4 points of damage on that. He then gets to take out his knee spikes, which both miss. Naughtiness Maximus is crazy dangerous, however, he has a weapon skill 4, and the boars and the riders also have weapon skill 4, so he's only hitting on 4+, so he can be vulnerable to some bad dice with these higher weapon skill monsters. Next we're on to Ivor, my Chaos Dwarf. He is going to strike the boar boy who is attacking Naughtiness Maximus, because I figured out he's the one in the most danger. He has 2 attacks with his axe. He is going to hit once. He's got a weapon skill 5, weapon skill 4 doesn't bother him. He is going to do 8 points of damage, which is pretty nice. He's then going to try and kick that boar to death with his boots, but again, the boots are -1 to hit, so he misses with that final attack. So we put some decent damage down in this first round, but now it's the bad guy's turn. Well, the other bad guys. Hundert Luftballoon is missed twice, which is real nice. Lief can't be hurt, as I've said before. Naughtiness Maximus is hit twice for 3 points of damage total. That's not too bad considering he's got 2 boar boys attacking him, so that's 4 strength 3 weapon skill 4 attacks. The last 2 boar boys are unable to get through Ivor's armor, and so we move on to the next round. We roll a total of 4 for the power score. Lief still doesn't go berserk, but his dice rolling does pick up a bit. With his 2 attacks, he kills the boar and rider that were targeting Hundert. Hundert is now freed up to try to strike the rider that is attacking Lief, but he misses. Naughtiness's turn, and he goes and misses with all 5 of his attacks, which is kind of amazing. Ivor is there to take some of the heat off of him, though. He kills the wounded boar that is attacking Naughtiness. Then he goes on to hit the rider for 3 points of damage before finally heel kicking him in the head and killing him with his boots. We're on to the monster turn, and of course Ivor and Lief are unhurt. Their armor is too tough. Hundert is not being attacked. Naughtiness Maximus is hit for just 1 point of damage, but Hundert is on hand. He's got that 4 power sitting around. He uses it to cast Heal Wounds and heal Naughtiness back up 3 damage. On to the next round, we get a nice power score of 5. Lief still not berserk, just not crazy today. I'm not feeling too threatened right now. Our guys are pretty healthy, and Hundert is feeling a little left out of all the killing, so he's going to take that 5 power and immediately cast the spell Freeze. He rolls 3, so that means 3 models take 3 points of damage. He kills the rider that was attacking Lief, freeing him up to go further into that crowd of boars and start more killing. He gets 2 more hits of 3 damage, and he puts those on the far left and far right hand boars. It's Lief's turn. He moves further into that combat and hits the wounded boar, but only for 6 points of damage, so it's still alive. Hundert's going to take a chance. He's going to move up and try and finish off that boar, but he misses. Thankfully, Naughtiness Maximus is back on his game, ready to do a little cleanup. He kills the boar and the rider, then he knees another boar to death with his knee spikes. And then we go over to Ivor to round out the turn. He is going to miss with 1 attack, then crit a boar rider to death. He also has a death blow skill, so if he rolls a 6 to hit, he gets an extra 2 damage. We've got 1 boar boy remaining, and he just can't get through Ivor's armor. We go on to the next round. We get a power score of 5 again. Lief is up, and this time he rolls a 1 for his berserk check, which means he doesn't do anything all round except flail around and scream and handing out 1 point of damage to all of his allies. It's now Hundert's turn. He can't get through to that boar, so he just moves back and just tries to stay away from the frothing barbarian. Unimpressed, Naughtiness Maximus moves over to that boar, kills the boar with a crit, and then kills the rider with another crit, so that's a real effective turn. All the monsters are dead. Ivor just shuffles right a little bit. Hundert uses Heal Small Wounds on everyone. Heal Small Wounds is a great spell. It only costs 1 power. It takes off 1 point of damage, but you can only use it once on a character every round. So Hundert essentially undoes Lief's little tantrum. For our treasure, we get a magic potion, which could be something you can use to heal yourself, but it also might be poison. Lief decides that the reason he wasn't doing so great in that combat because he wasn't drunk enough, so he grabs the consumable for himself. It's a new round, and we get a power score of 4, so no new monsters jump out, and we just move over to that doorway like we wanted to. In the exploration phase, we take out the lantern, and we find the next room is going to be a monster lair. Okay, so if we move into there, more things are probably going to appear. Next round, we get a 7, and we move into the room in the patented everyone against the wall in a defensive kind of line. We draw an event card, and we get another monster roll on the chart, and we get 5 Squig Hunter teams. Again, we've seen these before. They're not that big a deal. They do get deployed a little strangely. You draw a warrior counter, you place a squig, and then you place the hunter team next to them. Then you draw another counter, place a squig, hunter team next to them. And so they end up kind of like that. The squigs have 2 attacks at strength 5, so they hit real hard, but none of these things has much toughness or health, so I'm not too worried. So it's a new round. We get a power score of 4, which is just fine. Lief still does not go berserk, but he does manage to kill 2 hunters and the squig in front of him. He can't really do much better than that. That's all he's in contact with. Hundert is not currently in contact with any enemies, so he could jump further into that room full of stabbers and teeth in order to attack with his staff, but he says no thank you and just stays where he is. Naughtiness Maximus goes and kills the squig in front of him with his fist spike. He's got a special rule that if he kills something with his fist spike, he can move for free into the square that thing occupied. So he does that and then goes and misses with all the rest of his attacks, which is not great. Ivor tries to help out by breaking his pin and diving into the rest of the room, but he fails the break pin check, so he has to stay where he is. He is in contact with 1 squig, but then he goes and misses with all 3 of his attacks. I've never had this happen before. I've never been faced with so many squig attacks. Sensing the danger, Hundert is going to go and use 1 power to cast the freeze spell, but he only rolls a 2, and these things have 3 health. I could kill some goblins, but that's not really going to help me in this situation. I put 2 damage on 2 of the squigs and we go on to the monster phase. I've got 2 monsters that can advance on Lief and Hundert. I roll randomly to see who goes after who. The squig goes after Hundert, which is a problem, so he is bit twice for a total of 5 points of damage. Ivor and Lief manage to come away unscathed, but Naughtiness is stabbed by a goblin for 4 points of damage. Maybe I underestimated those guys. And then he's bit for another 6, so that's taking a big chunk out of Naughtiness. It's a new round and we get a power score of 5. Lief, sensing that things are going a bit wrong, finally gets his act together and goes berserk. So now I have 3 attacks. My first attack goes and misses the squig, which is a bit of a problem because now if I kill it, I can't death blow into the goblin next to him. So feeling somewhat confident, I'm going to hit these goblins on a 2+ and kill them automatically. I'm going to go the other direction and try and kill off that line of goblins and then finish off that squig. But my rolling doesn't work out. Even with 2 attacks hitting on 2+ and killing automatically, I only kill the 2 right-hand goblins. However, Hundert is up next. He's still using his staff, but he manages to bonk the squig on the head and kill him. So nice job from the wizard picking up the slack there. Good job, Hundert. Speaking of picking up the slack, Naughtiness Maximus starts to get his act together a little bit more and kills 1 hunter and 2 squigs in his turn. Ivor moves up and kills 2 of the hunters. That leaves just 3 goblin squig hunters left. My guys have taken some damage and healing would be really nice, but on the other hand I want to keep moving, so Hundert is going to go and use freeze with all the power that we have. We managed to get the 3+ to kill off the last 3 goblin hunters, and so the room is clear and we get to draw a treasure card, and we get the Gems of Life. This is kind of a cool one. So it's 2 little gems. You carry one with you and leave your other one at home. When you die, the person bearing one of these gems shrinks down and then reappears wherever the other gem is. So if one of your characters dies on an adventure, they're gone for the rest of that adventure, but once you go back to town, they rejoin your party. Kind of awesome, and one of the only ways you can bring a guy back from an instant death scenario. So I'm gonna give it to Naughtiness Maximus. He's probably my most valuable character, plus he's had a near-death experience recently, and we don't want to repeat that. New round, and we get a power score of 5, so we all shuffle up to the doorway like that, exploring the exploration phase. We get another room, so more monsters. The dungeon cell in this case. Hundert takes the opportunity to heal himself 3 points of damage and Naughtiness 1. So we're all set to move into this next room. We have to roll a new power score. We get a 1! This time, though, we get an encounter. When we get an encounter, we roll a d6. We compare it to a chart. We might have to use the card that we've just drawn. We might have to roll on the chart in the Orc book, or we might have to roll a chart on the roleplay book. In this case, we roll on the chart in the roleplay book, and we get Encounter. A dying dwarf comes by and hands us the key to the portcullis. So if portcullis slams behind us, now we have a key to get out, which is really nice, especially in dungeons with T-sections where we might have to backtrack. The weird thing is that I rolled that up on the chart, but that was also the card that I drew from the deck, so fate really wanted me to have this portcullis key. Anyway, with that resolved, with no major harm coming to the party, we go ahead and move straight into the dungeon cell like that. We draw our card because now we're in a room, and we get a monster there, and we roll on the orc chart to find out what we get. We get 1 stone troll, which is kind of cool. I have never fought a stone troll before. I draw a warrior counter to find out who the stone troll is going to try and eat, and unfortunately it's my wizard Hundert, which isn't great. Sensing this could be a bit of a problem, Hundert goes and heals himself 1 point of damage. So we're on to the new round. We've got a stone troll to fight. We roll a power score of 4. The stone troll, as you know, stone trolls are inherently anti-magic because they eat a lot of stones, and stones, are anti-magic, I guess. So the stone troll has the Drain Magic 6 rule, which means that at the start of every combat round, we roll a d6, and if we roll a 6, then all the magic, all the power goes away. Fortunately, that doesn't happen, so Hundert still has his 4 power to play with this round. The stone troll also has the Fear 6 rule. So since my guys are going to be attacking this thing, I go ahead and make all their fear checks now. You roll a d6, add their current battle level, and if it is above 6 and they aren't afraid. If they are afraid, spells cast against it cost 1 more power, and attacks are -1 to hit. So people at battle level 3 need to roll 4+, people at battle level 2 need to roll a 5+. Somehow we managed to pass all of the fear tests. None of my guys are scared of this troll. So we start the round off. Lief has got a couple kills under his belt at this point, so he goes berserk. I do try to get him to break the pin, so just in case we kill off this troll, he'll be in front of the doorway so we can explore later in the round. He doesn't manage to do that, even though he does have the duckback skill, so I break pins on a 5+ now. Anyway, I managed to hit him twice for a total of 13 points of damage, which is a great start. These stone trolls, I expect them to be a little bit more resilient, either have higher toughness or more health. They do not. In fact, they have less health than a normal troll. They are toughness 4 with 25 wounds, so Lief has just removed over half of those. Hundert's up next and he misses the troll, which is not surprising, but Naughtiness is the next warrior to activate, and he goes and myrtleates this poor troll. The rest of the crew just stay where they are in this nice defensive line. Hundert uses heal wounds on Naughtiness for doing such a good job and manages to heal him up 6. Ivor gets the treasure. We roll on the Orc and Goblin treasure chart and we get a magic weapon, which could be really good. In this case, it is not. We get an axe, which does d6 damage on the roll of a 6, so it's one of the least valuable weapons we can have. But oh well, we go on to the next round. We get a power score of 6. We move up to the doorway. Hundert heals himself for 1 using Cure Small Wounds and Naughtiness for 3 using Heal Wounds. We explore and we find a corner. That's a little disappointing because we are now drawing from the cards which could potentially be the objective room. So we didn't get it with this card, but we move on. We get a power score of 7. We move into the corner like that. New round, get a power score of 3. Move on to the next doorway. We're going to take another shot at this. We explore and we find the objective room. So just like I was hoping, the T section worked in my favor this time. We had a nice short dungeon, found the objective room right away. We go on to the next round, eager to get this sorted out. We get a power score of 4, which will allow us to move in. Now the thing about the Gorgut's Lair objective room is that pit in the front section is really, really dangerous. If you're standing in a square adjacent to it and you roll a 1, you fall into the pit and really bad things could happen. So when I move into the room, I'm going to go as far forward as possible. Lief is going to get on that second level away from the pit. Hundert is behind him, still adjacent. Unfortunately, Ivor and Naughtiness aren't able to get away from the pit, but we do get up onto that second level. And of course, we have introduced the idea of multi-level rooms. If you are attacking up a level, you're -1 to hit. If you're attacking down a level, you are +1 to hit. So that's another reason to jump as far forward as possible. So now we roll on the objective room monster chart, and because we are no longer battle level 1, we roll on the chart in the roleplay book, which tells us how many times to roll on the monster chart to see what's in the room. And it occurs to me at this point that here I am trying to hunt down an Orc Warlord, and there's every possibility that with these rolls I don't get Gorgut, I don't get an Orc Warlord to kill. So I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna work out, but we soldier on anyway. On the chart, we find out that we're going to roll once on the monster chart ahead of our level. So that's going to be the Orc and Goblin levels 4 to 5 monster chart, and twice on the same level as us, which is of course the monster level 2 to 3. So first we take a roll on the monster level 4 to 5, and we get a bad one. We get 3 giant scorpions and 3 gigantic spiders. Gigantic spiders aren't really that big a deal, they're not that threatening, but the giant scorpions are anything but. Strength 5, toughness 6, 20 wounds, 2 attacks, 2 damage dice for those attacks, and if they hit with both, then they have the poison rule, which is an extra 2d6 damage on top of all that, and if it kills you, then it does bad things even if you're brought back to life. Giant scorpions are nasty. Now, the good news is in the Gorgut Lair objective room, there's a special rule where you don't put monsters on the entrance level, so you can't get an overflowing room. And I assume that is to make up for the fact that you've got this dangerous pit in the front part and then these elevations in the latter part. So it's a tough room in general, so they limit the amount of monsters that are going to jump out at you. And in this case, I can't actually fit all of the monsters from this first roll here. I have to leave off one of the gigantic spiders. I still have 2 rolls to make on the level 2 to 3 chart, and so I do have some individual spaces left, so I go ahead and make the first roll on that, and it tells me to roll on Gorgut's objective room chart, and that is great news because each one of those results means that I get Gorgut, so I do have an Orc Warboss to kill. So I don't have to worry about that. That worked out great. On that chart I roll a 1, which really is the worst result, but honestly everything after these giant scorpions is not that big a deal. We get Gorgut, Scabnose, 3 big guns. We're also going to fill up the room with 6 Orc Boys, Gubbins, and Growler, so the Jester and the Squighound. The good news is that we have run out of space, so I actually can't put on 3 of the Orc Archers. There's actually an empty space there that I missed. Don't worry, an Orc Archer will go on there eventually. And Gubbins and Growler, and I really don't need Gubbins and Growler around. They are a pain. But here we go, big fight. We roll for power in the new round. I roll a 4, so that's 3 plus 1 because Hundert is battle level 2. However, we now roll a d6 and subtract that from the power score because Gorgut has a magic ring that drains magic away. He rolls a 5, so I get no power this round. So I'm anticipating a tough fight. I would be very surprised if we get into a more difficult combat this game. So Naughtiness is going to use his Chalice of Vigor. We're going to break out the booze. Chalice of Vigor, I can use it once per adventure, and all of my guys, for the duration of the combat, not the turn, the whole combat, when they roll a 6 to hit, they do an extra d3 damage. So we start the hero phase. Lief immediately goes berserk, which is great. He's going to attack that giant scorpion that is right there in the front next to him and Hundert. We do not need that thing killing our wizard. I hit him all 3 times. The scorpion only has a weapon skill of 3, so I'm hitting him on a 2+. Since these things take up 4 squares, they are often on 2 different levels at once, so I don't give myself the -1 to hit for them being a level above, since half of them is still on the same level as me. Unfortunately, the thing still has a toughness of 6, so I'm only going to do 11 points of damage. Still, a good start. Hundert is going to pass on his attack. He is not going to do much damage to these things facing him, and I am worried that if I roll a 1, he's just going to pitch himself down that pit, which I don't need. Naughtiness Maximus the Pit Fighter is a different story. I really need him to start doing some combats. The first thing that he's going to do is, on one of my trips to a tavern in town, I have learned a death song, which is a song so horrible and so discordant that it will kill a person on the roll of a 5 or 6. I can choose any model that's worth less than 300 gold, and I might just execute them with a terrible, terrible bar song. I choose the big gun behind Hundert because I don't like him very much. And guess what? I managed to roll that 5 or 6, so Naughtiness Maximus sings that big gun to death. That's one less thing to worry about. Naughtiness has 2 things that he can attack. One of them is Gorgut, the objective for the whole game, and also the thing that's taking away all my magic. The other is the giant scorpion, and really I think I need this giant scorpion dead. The first attack is a miss. I'm going to hit on a 3+, but fortunately I miss with a 2, so I don't fall down a pit. The next one I get a 6. So that's fantastic. I'm going to do 2d6 damage plus the 1d6 damage for having the magic fist spike plus another d3 because I've used the Chalice of Vigor plus my strength of 4. This one hit does 16 points of damage to this giant scorpion. My next hit goes and kills it, and so that was a great opening salvo by Naughtiness Maximus. That is all my fist spike attacks, but because I did kill something with a fist spike, I get to move into the square that they used to be in, so I get to move away from that pit, which is great. I now get to wheel around and attack Gorgut with my knee spikes, no longer worrying about falling into this deadly spike-filled chasm. The first one is another crit, so that's going to be 2d6 plus d3 plus 3 points of damage. I'm going to do 10 damage to Gorgut. He only has 12 health. The last attack misses, but now it's Ivor's turn. Ivor's got 2 attacks with the axe and 1 with the boot. The first attack is a miss, but again, he rolls a 2 and doesn't fall into the pit, and then he hits and kills Gorgut. This was a big round, and we are not done yet, because Naughtiness Maximus has the Time Freeze ring, and I can use this once per adventure to get a whole extra hero phase, and I think this is a great time to use it. Berserk Lief is going to be up first. He has got 2 scorpions around him. He's going to attack the wounded one first, gets a crit. So again, that's going to be d6 plus d3 plus 7. He maxes his damage. 6 on the d6, 3 on the d3. He does 10 points of damage and kills that giant scorpion, which now means Hundert is safe. He's got 2 more attacks, which he uses to hit the new giant scorpion in front of him for 8 points of damage. Hundert's turn, and he is fine where he is. He does not need to go and do anything and risk himself. He will stay there and allow Lief to clear a path. Naughtiness now moves forward 1 square. He's standing in front of a big un, and there's a gigantic spider up above him. We're going to go for this gigantic spider. It is -1 to hit, so we are down to a 4+, but he does manage to punch it twice for 13 points of damage, and then hit it with one of my knee spikes for another 3. So that's nice. Unfortunately, Ivor can't capitalize because he can't move into contact with any other monsters, so he just moves up behind Naughtiness like that, and we're finally over to the monster phase. So first of all, we're going to attack with the remaining scorpion into Lief. I am real worried about this. I do not want this guy to hit me twice and get that poison into effect. I am ready to use my King Shield of Tilia to cancel one of the attacks. It's not necessary because the scorpion only hits once. He does manage to punch 3 points of damage onto Lief, but that could have been a lot worse. Scabnose, the shaman, actually should have gone before that. He's going to cast a spell at the beginning of every monster phase. In this case, he casts Pretty Lights. Pretty Lights is not directly damaging, but I know from experience that it can be a real pain. Next round, all my guys are -1 to hit, as we are confused by bright lights shooting out of the shaman's, ears. Scabnose does have a clear path and a sword, so he is going to run forward and foolishly attack Ivor. Can't hurt him through all that armor, though. The gigantic spider goes and misses Naughtiness Maximus with its first attack, but then hits with its second. So now Naughtiness Maximus is webbed. He's got to try and break out of it in the beginning of this round, otherwise he doesn't get to do anything, and people get bonuses to hit him. Speaking of which, that gives a great opportunity to the big un who is fighting Naughtiness Maximus on the same level. But it actually turns out he doesn't need the help. He goes and rolls a 6 against Naughtiness Maximus, which means that in addition to stabbing him with the sword, he also headbutts him. And not only that, but the big un maxes out the damage on poor Naughtiness, doing a total of 11 damage. The only good news in all that was that if he had attacked and Gorga was still alive, he would get an extra attack, and that I do not need. The 3 archers at the back all failed to hit their targets. That was a lot of damage being served out by both sides, but honestly, I think my guys are doing okay. New round, and we get a max power score of 6, which gives us a total of 7. Lief is going to go first. He's going to get a crit on that scorpion. We are just rolling like crazy right now. Then he's got 2 more attacks, which he uses to finish that thing off. There goes the last of the giant scorpions. So now we're feeling a little confident, and maybe we shouldn't. Hundert wants to get in on the action, and so he is going to move over to the other side of the room and try to assist Ivor attacking Scabnose. A little shaman v shaman combat. Unfortunately, he is attacking up a level, so he's -1 to hit. So with the staff, that's going to bring that to a 6 to hit. So his odds are just as good about getting a hit as getting a 1 and falling down the pit. And that is what I do. I roll a 1. That was just kind of a foolish action on my part. I didn't really need to do that. I do, however, have a lucky charm, and I think this is a good time to use it. I roll the lucky charm. I still miss the shaman, but at least I don't fall into the pit. Naughtiness is up next, and he needs to try and break out of this web. I gotta roll a d6 and add my strength and need to get 7 or more. So with his strength of 4, he needs to roll a 3+, which thankfully he does. Then he goes and does pit fightery things. He's gonna just go on a rampage with that fist spike, killing and advancing as he just tears through this room. He is going to kill that gigantic spider, the big un in front of him, and then move on and kill off 3 of the archers in the back of the room. It's helpful that these knee spikes, they do get death blows, so if I kill with those, I can keep going into the rest of them. So 5 things dead in 1 round. Good round from Naughtiness Maximus. Finally, we have Ivor. People in levels above you or below you don't pin you, so he moves forward a little bit, but he still wants to try and axe Scabnose a little bit. He does manage to hit him with one of his attacks for 6 points of damage. He then has his boots, but because he is a level below, and because of Pretty Lights, and because the boots just have a -1 to hit in general, he is only going to hit him on a 6. Guess what? He does it. kills off Scabnose, and the boys have just had a tremendous round. Even with those -1 to hit, we really cleared out this area. Monster phase, and we've got a fresh gigantic spider which scuttles over and manages to hit Lief once, webbing him. The last remaining big gun misses Naughtiness Maximus, and Hundert goes and uses up some of that power we had in the beginning. We cast Heal Wounds on Naughtiness Maximus, but only heal him up 2, and we use Cure Small Wounds on Lief, healing him up 1. New round, and we have a power score of 5. Lief needs to break out of this web, so he needs a 3+ as well because he is strength 4. He fails to do it, but again I use a lucky charm, reroll it, I manage to succeed and cause 12 points of damage to the spider. Hundert just goes and moves up behind Ivor, want to get away from that pit. Naughtiness Maximus tries to break his pin so that he can get in between the big gun and the spider and hopefully attack both. He fails to do that, but does kill the big gun. That means Ivor is still trapped behind him, so he just moves forward 1 square. Hundert uses Cure Small Wounds and Heal Wounds. We only roll a 1 for the Heal Wounds, so Naughtiness and Lief are both healed up 1. In the monster phase, the spider goes and misses Lief twice, which is great news. New round, power score 5. Lief manages to kill off the spider. Someone collects Gorgut's head. We move up to the back of the objective room because now the doorway has opened up. Again, the same healing as before, rolls a 1 again. So Naughtiness healed 1, Lief healed 1. On to the next phase, we get a power score of 7. Everybody moves up to the doorway, having accomplished our mission. We now just have to get through those last 4 rooms and we're home free. In the exploration phase, we explore and we find a T-junction. Well, this is actually fantastic news because we're not looking for a particular room right now. We're just trying to get to the end. And as far as I can tell, we get to end of one of these T-junction passages. That's the way out. Very fire safety conscious, this group of orcs and goblins. They wanted to make sure and have plenty of exits in case of accidents or invading heroes. Although it's probably what led in all those gigantic spiders and giant scorpions. Anyway, Naughtiness Maximus is healed up for a whole 2 points of damage. We're on to the next phase. We get a score of 6. Just go ahead and move into the T section there. One of the passages has 2 cards. The other one has 1 card. I see no reason not to head towards the section with just the 1 card. Naughtiness Maximus gets healed 4. Move on to the next round. Get a power score of 7. Move up to that doorway. Naughtiness Maximus is healed all the way up to full. We explore, we find another T-junction. Works for me, works out just fine. New round, power score, we roll a 1, but we can smell fresh air. We are not interested in dealing with this. Hundert is going to use his once per adventure staff reroll to reroll that power score. We get a 4. We move into this T section like this. Next round, we get a power score of 6, nothing but daylight between us and victory, and we escape the dungeon victorious. Nice short game. Didn't earn as much gold as some of the other adventures. We got some nice pieces of treasure, but nothing too amazing. That's okay, this was the kind of game I was hoping that this would be. We head back to the seer with the head. We have to roll on a chart. If we roll a 1, then I'm sorry, the Orc Warboss has already been found and killed and we get nothing. On a 2 through 5, the bounty is still up, but it's not the correct Warboss's head, so we get paid a small amount. We actually managed to roll a 6. This is the Warboss that the seer had foreseen, and so we get D6 times 100 gold each. Lief, Hundert, and Ivor all roll a 2 and get 200 gold. Naughtiness gets 500 gold. He is the one who needs it the least because he is absolutely swimming in money. In fact, all of my guys are really rich. I would really like to get some people up some levels, especially those battle level 2 guys. Last game, we couldn't get to a town or a city. We had to delay our advancement. This game, I'd really like to make it happen. So I want to advance my guys, but now I have a choice to make. I can go to a town, and it takes 4 weeks to travel on a town, and every week I have to roll on a hazard table. And of course the hazard tables are bad. In addition to bad things just happening to you in general, you can get lost or run into a blizzard or something like that and not be able to reach your destination. End up in a village, which is I believe what happened to me last time. So a town only requires 4 rolls, but once you get there, it's harder to find the locations you need in order to do your training. The other option would be to go to a city, which requires 6 rolls on the travel table, but it's a lot more likely to find the locations for the training. In addition, it's a lot more likely that you're going to find particular items that you might want to buy, and I have a lot of cash sitting around, so I think I'm going to try and go to a city. So here we go. First roll on the hazard table, we get a 44, uneventful week, perfect. 1 week down, next week coming up. 45 is a Which Road event, so we have to roll a die on a 1 to 3, we get it right. On a 4 through 6, we get it wrong. And if we get it wrong, again, we end up at a village and we can't go any further. I luck out and I get the right path, and so now 2 weeks down. Next result is a 13. We end up at a chapel, or a chaos shrine, I guess. We all spend 20 gold and we get to roll on a chart. Lief, Hundert, and Naughtiness all get +1 wound, so that's nice. Moving on, we get 26 guests. We take part in a big party at a small village that we're passing by. Unfortunately, one of us gets stuck with the bill. The good news is that it's going to be Naughtiness Maximus, who has to cough up 100 gold for the partying that we do. He's got the money, he can afford it, and that is absolutely what happens when the Louts of Chaos roll into your town. Week 5, we get 24, uneventful week. We are almost there, and then we roll 41, which is lost. That's what happens when you party too much at a village. We get turned around and we end up at a small village. And the villagers tell us that we can travel to a nearby town, but it's going to take another 6 weeks. So I got to do another 6 weeks on the hazard table, and I end up at a town, not a city, which isn't great. But the only other option is to be at this village, which doesn't get me anything. So, starting over. First of 6 weeks, roll 22, get an uneventful week. 62, we get brigands. We fight a bunch of brigands. They come and try and rob us. Each of our guys rolls d6 to find out how many we're fighting, and then each of my guys rolls d6 to find out how much we kill. So if there are any brigands left over, they manage to make off with our gold, but we are the Louts of Chaos. I get 13 brigands, and I kill 13 brigands, so we are just fine. We get to keep our gold. Moving on, we get 16, a peddler. This is a great result. This gives us the opportunity to buy some unusual items. Just to save time, I'm just going to buy people another lucky charm. They cost us 50 gold. It gives us a reroll during the adventure. There's nothing that says I can't have multiples of these. Maybe that's not great. Maybe it makes my guys a little bit too powerful to have so many rerolls like this. But it's not like you can't have rerolls from luck points or other items like that, so I think it's okay. We do have to roll a d6 for every item that we buy from the peddler. On the roll of a 1, it turns out to be a fake. None of them turned out to be fake, so we're still doing pretty well on this journey that we're on. On to week 4, and we get 53, double back. We are still lost and confused. We are not the brightest bunch, and we end up straight back where we started at the exit of the dungeon that we just left. This is after 10 weeks on the road, by the way. The good news, if it can be called that, is that now we get to try and go to a city again. So, once again, 6 more rolls on the hazard table, trying to get to a city. First roll, 54, Rockfall. It just means that we have to pay some money to have some locals clean up the road for us. No big deal, we've got money to spend. Next roll, 52, Blizzard. Storm sets in, and that's what happens when you spend a third of the year just wandering around the old world. We're back in winter again. We get snowed in, and we have to stay at a village. There's nothing for me to do at a village. It doesn't help me at all. I do have a bunch of rerolls. I've got luck points and stuff like that. I can reroll this if I want. So I figure this will allow me to reroll a 10s or a 1s. Thing is, I look around on the chart, the other stuff that I get. I don't like my chances. I don't like some of the other things that I might end up with. You know what? I'm fine with this. We got a couple extra wounds. We got a couple extra luck charms. We got more money. We got more magic items. We can stop it here. We can say it was a short game and end it at this point. We're still battle level 3. We've still got 2 more adventures that we can do from the Lair of the Orc Lord book. So yeah, we're going to end it here. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, that kind of thing, you can leave them in the comment section below. I will see you on the next one.